It's never too early to mock draft, and on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we're going through the first round of a Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft on Sleeper. I am your host, Shaun Moran, and I am joined by my fellow co-hosts, good friends, and knowers of ball, Keegan Thompson and Aidan Haller. Aidan, how we living, man?
I'm doing well, Shaun. I'm excited. We are here in early February, and we're talking rookies and mocking, baby. We are 2 months out, more than 2 months out from the draft, and here we are. So, yeah, I'm fired up. Let's do this.
Keegan, how we doing, dude?
Doing good. Third takes the charm on today's intro.
There's been some technical difficulties, a little bit behind the curtain. We've been in the studio for 40 minutes and we're just kicking off here. So that's the type of day that we are having. You may be asking yourself, does it really make sense to do a mock draft before the combine? The answer, probably not, but we're going to be doing it anyway today. We have the first round and the first round only. Keegan is starting from the 1. He'll also have the 6th, 7th, and 12th pick. I have the 2nd pick, 5th pick, 8th, and 11th. And Aidan, he's bringing up the rear. He's got the 3rd, 4th, 9th, and 10th. You guys ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
All right. Each pick, 3 minutes on the clock.
Let's do it.
It's all right. Let's start this puppy.
All right. So setting the stage here with pick 1. This is 2 quarterback dynasty formats, tight end premium, kind of your usual standard dynasty league. I'm going to go ahead and make this really quick and easy with the 101, and I'm just going to take Caleb Williams off the board right away. For me, this is just, I need a quarterback. You're getting maybe one of the best quarterback prospects we've seen in years. I think maybe there's a little bit of fatigue on Caleb Williams just because of last year. But, I mean, there's a guy who can throw the ball from any angle. He's got like a stout frame. He's got a rocket arm as well, too. It's not just the off-platform stuff. Like, he can throw it from anywhere. He has high rushing upside as well, too. Like, he could very well be in that elite fantasy QB conversation very soon once his career starts. And, hey, if he goes to the Bears, I don't hate that landing spot. Him, DJ Moore, and maybe another weapon in the draft that they pick up this year as well, too. I'm liking it. So I'm going to go ahead and take Caleb Williams off the board here.
There's no way he ends up on another team, right?
Aidan,
the resident Bears fan. He's going to the Bears? Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is the easiest pick of this draft. You just take Caleb.
Oh, yeah.
Dude's got a rocket arm, rushing upside.
Don't think about it.
Bears are going to have DJ Moore. It's kind of a slam dunk.
I think regardless of my roster, by the way, there's very few scenarios where I wouldn't take Caleb. I have a dynasty team that I have Lamar and Pat Mahomes in that we're all in together, and I would still have to think really long and hard about taking Caleb Williams at the 1, but I still might do it. He's just that good of a dynasty prospect. So,
yeah. I think at the 102 or the 101, I think it's easy. I think there's a clear tier break after, and I think it's Marvin Harrison Jr. A lot of people on Twitter have been taking to the Malik Nabers as a better prospect than Marvin Harrison Jr. Side of the aisle. I don't even know if that's the right way to describe it. But
it's silly. It's prospect fatigue.
I love Nabers too. I don't want to choose between Nabers and Harrison because Nabers is such a fun guy. And I have Nabers really high. I actually have him right after Harrison, but Marvin Harrison Jr., if you guys could build a prototypical X wide receiver to be a star in the NFL in a lab, it would be this guy. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. He's built like A.J. Green. He reminds me of Georgia Bulldog A.J. Green. I think he's the best wide receiver prospect since Jamar Chase. What's crazy with Harrison, he put up nearly identical stats with C.J. Stroud and Kyle McCord. So C.J. Stroud is a clear... Yeah, he's like... C.J. Stroud is a clear wide receiver elevator. Think of how well some of these guys in college played with him versus how they're doing in the NFL, looking at you, Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I just think the idea of going from C.J. Stroud to Kyle McCord and putting up the same stats, it's kind of mind-boggling. And I just think people are bored of Marvin Harrison Jr. They're looking for a hot take this early in the season. They're looking to sound different. And I just think it's flat out wrong. There's so much meat on the bone in Marvin Harrison's game, in my opinion. He was barely used in the screen game. He only played 20% of his snaps in the slot. He was mostly outside as an X receiver. And Kyle McCord was ranked like 90th in PFF for over the middle passing. Marvin Harrison Jr. was not able to access the middle of the field last year because his quarterback wasn't good throwing over the middle. So I just think there's a ton of untapped potential for MHJ. I think you throw him in the slot, he could be like a CD Lamb level type producer, and then he can go win outside easily. So this is an easy one. I'm drafting Harrison. I can't find my team right now in the app for the mock, Keegan, so I'm going to need you to draft him for me. I appreciate that, sir. Marvin Harrison off the board.
Tough day for Shaun on the sleeper app. Just a
brutal
day on
Shaun,
the app
blender.
today. Yeah,
Shaun accidentally deleted our Dynasty today.
Almost.
Brutal, but it's all right. We're moving on. We are in a Superflex, so you know the importance of QBs, especially QBs with rushing upside. And that is why I'm going with none other than Jayden Daniels here at the third pick.
Ooh, spicy.
So I do think in the NFL draft, Drake Maye will go before him. But in fantasy football, you'd kind of be silly not to take Jayden Daniels ahead of Drake Maye. Just looking at what he did last year, 3,800 yards through the air, 1,100 yards on the ground, 50 total touchdowns. The guy's an absolute game breaker if this translates even 60, 70, 80% to the NFL. My only fear is he ends up in New England and they have zero help around him.
Would be a nightmare. But
it's okay. It's okay. It's a pretty good wide receiver class in terms of free agency. Like, it can't get worse than last year in terms of their weapons. So I'm okay with that. But Jayden Daniels feels like a no-brainer over Drake Maye in terms of fantasy. I want that dual threat ability. And for that reason, it's pretty easy personally. What do you guys think if you had to kind of weigh those two?
I think Jayden Daniels, and this isn't a slight, he reminds me of Marcus Mariota coming out of Oregon. Just like really effective passer, dual threat quarterback. I think for the fantasy perspective, it makes a ton of sense to go with Jayden. I've had my thoughts on Drake Maye. I'm not going to show my cards because I might get a chance to draft him here. So I'm not going to say too much, but I think McDaniels with his rushing upside too. I think he could go to New England and be fine. Honestly, I don't think he's situation dependent because of how he can be as a rusher. So
I saw a comp on Twitter today for Jayden Daniels, and it was Johnny Knoxville.
I saw
from his Jackass days. The guy is just always finding himself in the funniest situations.
Just getting smacked.
Yeah. I'm excited for him. I kind of knocked him when he left ASU. I was like, this guy's just running from the grind, and then just absolutely like lit it up at LSU. I was like, okay, that was my B, Jayden. I owe you an apology. Keeping it moving. We're staying in the same locker room. Here.
Nice.
We're grabbing Mr. Malik Nabers. Yeah, that's an easy one for me. There is such a steep drop-off, in my opinion, between MHJ, Malik Nabers, and the rest of the wide receivers. He'd be the clear-cut wide receiver one in probably at least like 8 out of the last 10 drafts. It's just, unfortunate that he's here with Marvin Harrison, who's, you could argue is the best prospect since Calvin Johnson at the wide receiver position. Guy just went for like 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns. Probably going to test somewhere in like the mid to low 4.3s in terms of speed. Just an absolute beast. You can kind of put him anywhere on the field. Think like Deebo Samuel-esque. Like, he can play outside. He can play in the slot. He can, take handoffs. There's really nothing in his game that he can't do. So, I'm going with Malik Nabers, baby. Go Tigers.
He had a magnificent. His year he had in 2023 was like magnificent. I love that the fact that you called this out. He played 50% of his snaps in the slot, 50% outside. This guy, when he was running curls, the amount of separation that he can create at the top of a curl route is mind-boggling. Truly an elite prospect. I've seen people comp him to OBJ, to DJ Moore. He kind of reminds me of like a turbocharged DJ Moore. Similar player in that regard.
Yep. We're going to draft Jayden Daniels, and we're going to draft Malik Nabers, and we're going to score some touchdowns. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Keegan, I need you to help me out here. You're officially in full control of the mouse.
Don't worry. I'm just letting the clock down. I wasn't sure if there was anything else you'd like to say about Malik Nabers before we move on to Shaun's next pick here.
This isn't going how I thought it was going to go. I guess actually it is going. I just not in the exact order. I thought I was going to have a real chance to wax poetically about a certain player here, but I feel like in Dynasty Superflex, it would be malpractice to not take Drake Maye here. So I'm gonna have to take Drake Maye, even though I really want to take Brock Bowers. I'm gonna lean with Maye here because he's kind of the complete QB prospect. He's aggressive, he's mobile, he's creative out of structure. He's a pretty good post snap processor. I've watched some clips from Derek Klassen where he's able to recognize a disguised coverage after the snap, which is a really good indicator that he'll be good at the next level. I think he would easily be the number one pick in most drafts if Caleb Williams wasn't in it. I think he's going to be really good in the NFL, and he has sneaky fantasy upside as a rusher. I know this kind of sounds crazy, but he reminds me a little bit of Deshaun Watson.
What?
He reminds me a little bit of Deshaun Watson with his mobility. No.
I thought you were going to comp him.
I pulled it not in the massage rooms at all. Just purely out of what they produced in college. Similar rush yards per game, pass yards per game, similar amount of games started. Deshaun held onto the ball long, was ultra aggressive, was always looking for a big play. Drake Maye is similar in that regard. Deshaun did it at the highest level in terms of the CFP. But I just think Drake Maye is a comparable prospect, and I think he could be really good out of the gates. So comfortably taking Drake Maye there 5th in this rookie draft.
Oof.
And I think he's going to be a commander. That is my call for Drake Maye, number 2 overall.
I think in most drafts, he's probably going to go 4. I think Caleb and Marvin will go 1 and 2. I would be surprised unless the team sitting at 4 is just absolutely loaded at wide receiver. You're probably taking Maye there, but kind of for this exercise, I decided to go Nabers, given that I already taken Daniels.
And where do you think Nabers lands, Aidan? What team do you think he?
I think he goes somewhere in the 5 to 9 range. The Chargers would be silly not to take him. Giants could use him as well. If he slides to the Bears, they'll take him at 9. I don't know. Those are all kind of good landing spots. I'm not going to lie. I'd love to see him with the Chargers. That'd be a perfect scenario. I don't know if they do it given they just took QJ and probably, don't want to swallow their pride and take another one, but we'll see. I think Chargers would be the best scenario.
I like him on the Giants, and I know a lot of people don't, but I'm a fan. And then Jayden to the Falcons. Would love Jayden on the Falcons. That'd be fun.
This is really easy right here for me. I mean, team 6, I've already drafted a quarterback here with Caleb Williams. My 2 favorite offensive prospects are officially off the board, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Nabers. So I'm going to go on to the next one, who I think is a surefire fantasy difference maker in Brock Bowers, especially if you're playing in tight end premium leagues.
Oh, man.
I always love in fantasy to get a positional advantage, where you can. So I'm always drafting elite QBs. It's good to find a really solid tight end early on because it's set it and forget it. There are positions that can win you matchups, right? You can stockpile wide receivers that can make a difference, but there aren't many Brock Bowers. There's not many Trey McBrides or Sam Laportas out there, right? They're few and far in between where you run into a prospect like this that is so highly touted and generational. I mean, he's a weapon of mass destruction, lines up as a tight end. And we can talk about that picture that just came out of him next to Gronk, but I'm not moved by it. I won't be moving him down my rankings in any way, shape, or form. I think wherever Brock Bowers goes, he'll be an immediate difference maker for that team's offense. Just look what Laporta has done. Look what Trey McBride has done. You see how Mark Andrews affects the offense. You see how Kelsey is able to affect an offense. Running an offense through an elite tight end like that has given teams a winning formula that we've seen not replicated, but attempted to replicate over the years. And it's showing to be a proven method of success. So I'm going to go ahead here and take Brock Bowers at the 6th.
What I love about Bowers is you can do the whole manufactured touches where you throw him screens, throw him passes in the flat, and he's just a yak monster. He makes so many people miss.
60% of his yards came off yak in 2023. He's also PFF's 7th graded receiver, not tight end. He's PFF's 7th graded receiver in a class with Nabers and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome. I mean, by all metrics, he is elite as a pass catcher.
In his career, he averaged close to 9 yards of yak per completion, like per catch. Like for context, last year, Sam Laporta, his last year at Iowa, averaged 11.7 yards per reception. So it's only 2 yards more than the amount of yak per reception that Brock Bowers generates in his career. It's just a special talent at tight end. Colts. I hope he goes to the Colts. That would be a sick landing spot for him.
That'd be cool.
That would be. My next pick here, I mean, I could have done these in either order, but I'm going to go with the receiver that I think is at the tail end of this elite tier. There are 3 wide receivers in my mind that will be automatic difference makers on their team, regardless of landing spot situation. It's Marvin Harrison Jr., it's Malik Nabers, kind of in their own area, and then there's Rome Odunze from Washington that kind of like is sitting a little bit by himself, but I think he's better than Troy Franklin, Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy. Like, to me, this is where that elite, not elite, because I do think some of these guys are very good, but you know what I mean? This is where it ends for that tier of wide receivers. And I feel like Rome in this spot, I mean, 6, 7, 8, he might be there depending on how the quarterbacks shake out in your draft. I don't know. But this is where I think Rome will be going in your dynasty rookie drafts. And I just think it's such a good spot to get like a really, really good wide receiver who's improved every year in his college career. This year was like his real, like, put himself on the map year, like was really good in contested catch situations, which was a concern earlier on in his college career. And he improved upon that tenfold. He's just a smooth route runner. I think the guy just plays ball so well. So I think Rome is the pick here for me at 7.
What are your thoughts on Rome, Aidan?
I like him. I like him quite a bit. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people aren't in love with him personally. I see like a lot of Chris Olave. I think he's just really good route runner.
He's king size Chris Olave. He's like the king size bar.
He's like the king of the late hands, like just good route runner, good contested catch. You know, like Keegan said, got better with each year. This is a guy that I really like. I'd be shocked if he's not wide receiver 3 in both your fantasy drafts and
going to the Bears to play with Caleb.
There's some like Daniel Jeremiah has Rome ahead of Nabers. Like some people like Rome more than Nabers.
That's a bit much, but
he does all the receivery things, right? Like he's just the route running is just what people fall in love with.
3 drops on 140 targets last year. That's it.
Crazy. It's pretty crazy. He'll be nice to Caleb next year. Odunze plus DJ Moore would be disgusting with Caleb Williams. That is.
Don't forget Komet. All right, Shaun. Who you got?
This one's tough. This one's between two wide receivers. Both I think offer a ton of upside, and both I think are kind of developmental receivers in a sense of like, I think that they're not going to be immediate impact producers in like a full expanded route tree role like Odunze, Nabers, and MHJR, but there's just so many explosive elite wide receivers in this class. And between Troy Franklin and Brian Thomas Jr., I feel like I got to go with Brian Thomas Jr. here with the 8th pick in this draft. He's got the go-go gadget Brandon Ayuk arms. Have you seen this guy when he gets up to celebrate? He's like one of those dudes that like could scratch his knees standing up. It's freaky how long his arms are. And you see it when he's in contested catch situations, especially in the red zone. He led the nation in touchdowns, and a lot of it was just being a beast in the red zone. Really strong hands, amazing feet. It doesn't matter if you get 2 feet down, but he was consistently getting 2 feet down, which I think was awesome. Absolute red zone threat, and then just on go balls, my man was just absolutely disgusting. Along the boundary, over the middle of the field, it didn't matter. What was really cool with him, too, is he'd catch a ball. He had really good stop, deceleration, acceleration. Can make a guy miss and then score a touchdown. It's kind of insane that he played in the same offense with Nabers. I think you could play him in the slot. I think you can play him outside. He reminds me a ton of Christian Watson in the sense of his big playability, but he was Christian Watson in Power 5. He was Christian Watson in the SEC, which is like an elite player and an elite prospect, in my opinion. And I could see some Nico Collins in him with his height, weight, speed, size. So I'm in on Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's got a little bit of room to go to develop as a receiver, but he's a fun prospect, and that's an easy pick for me.
You blocked me from taking the entire LSU offense, which wasn't cool. But I do love Brian Thomas. I my comp would probably be T. Higgins.
I see that too.
I know you hate T. Higgins. Just an
not the
absolute
player,
beast.
just the
like,
fantasy asset.
yeah,
The player
just
sick.
like insane, like just like high point ability. Yeah, like just uses his size very well. So no, this is a guy that I really like. I was going to take him there at Aidan and just get the whole Tiger offense, but I've been blocked, so I'm going to take the other wide receiver that you were looking at, and that is Troy Franklin. His tape is awesome. There's just no way around it. He is unbelievably fast at his size. Dude is 6'3", just long ass strides.
Limbs.
Played most of
just limbs everywhere when he's running.
Yeah,
just
played. Yeah, 80% in the slot, which is a bit surprising for his size. I would assume he probably doesn't live there at the NFL level, but who knows? He's really effective there. 14 touchdowns, just under 1,400 yards, 17 yards per catch. I think this is a guy that, probably doesn't slot in as your 1 or 2 to start, but could be, a wide receiver 3 right off the bat. So I like him. This is, he's a fun watch. If you haven't watched his tape, get in there. Absolute blast to watch run around in those Oregon unis.
Who he reminds me of? He's like he's a luxury brand Jalen Hyatt. Like he's Jalen Hyatt who played in a real offense where it's like speed slot guy. He also has a little bit of Kirkland brand Devontae Smith. I don't know if he's there as a route runner, but you just see it with his slender frame, the way he plays. Devontae Smith's kind of a 101, but you can kind of see it with the wiggle that he has. But Hyatt, he's like a better Jalen Hyatt.
Yep. So what do I do with the next pick here? I'm going to try to go with like what the draft board would be doing. This one's really going to be destination dependent. You're going to be looking at QB here, whether it's Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, or Michael Penix. Personally, the guy that I like the most out of those 3 is Bo Nix. I think he's the most pro ready out of the 3. I know Shaun kind of thinks otherwise with who would probably go first in the draft.
I like Bo Nix a lot. Yeah, I had a really, we were on our Senior Bowl. I thought Nix was interesting, but I think JJ McCarthy, if he goes high, if JJ McCarthy goes high, it's going to be hard not to draft him in the first round.
I don't think he's ready. Bo Nix in the right situation, like, I don't know, maybe Tampa Bay or something, like he gets slotted and he's got a lot of Baker to him to a degree. So I'm going to go with Bo Nix here, I think, just to try to keep the order consistent in terms of where guys are going to go. I really like.
You're double dipping on locker rooms.
I didn't realize that. Oh wow,
handcuff city, baby! Wow, correlation.
They might not correlate in real life, but they'll correlate in spirit.
Yeah.
Wow, LSU, Oregon, 2 of the best offenses. That's good stuff.
That was fun.
I am really curious to see Nix versus JJ. I feel like 4 quarterbacks are going to go in Dynasty Rookie Mocks in the first round. Oh, yeah. Okay, champ. I'm torn here because I really want to take a wide receiver, but like I feel like we kind of have to have the JJ conversation. I don't really want to have the JJ conversation. I have this guy as my I have JJ actually as my 12th guy off the board. The guy that I'm going to take here, I've got him 11th, and that would be the wide receiver out of Texas, Xavier Worthy. I was a little bit torn on Worthy versus A.D. Mitchell, and then kind of going through the advanced stats, it was pretty clear that Worthy was just better. He just had better collegiate production. And then you turn on the tape, and the way that Xavier Worthy was used and the type of fear that he put into collegiate defenses was fun to watch. It was fun to watch how Sark used him. He was elite in the screen game, breaking a ton of tackles. He was fantastic over the middle of the field, getting clean separation against cornerbacks. And then the deep ball, the guy is just a freak of nature in terms of how he can turn on the burners. And then he's just so good at tracking the ball. It's like Deshaun Jackson-esque in terms of size, speed, and ball tracking. And I don't want to make that comp lightly, but I think Xavier Worthy is the exact type of wide receiver that NFL offenses need right now. With the too high, limiting explosives, you just kind of need a game breaker, an explosive playmaker. I did not mean to rhyme there, but I'm drafting Xavier Worthy here with the 11th pick. Do you guys like Worthy? Like, I feel like this guy's special.
Yeah, I'm a fan of him. I also like how he was contributing as a true freshman at the University of Texas. Like, this is a guy that had 3 pretty impressive seasons.
He's been good since he started his career, honestly.
Yeah, I think he ran track. I think he's got like some high school track records. Like, the dude's an absolute beast, and yeah, has contributed 3 years in a row at an impressive program like Texas. So, no, I like the pick a lot. That is game changing speed and game changing talent.
Where would you want to see Worthy play? What team? Say end of the first round, a team takes him. Who do you want to take him?
Oh, end of the first round. Who would be a fun fit back there?
I like the Cowboys.
What's interesting is I've seen mocks of Cowboys taking a receiver, but taking the receiver opposite of him on his own team in a lot of mocks. It's very interesting, but I do like the Cowboys landing spot. I'm very curious to see where Xavier Worthy will go in the draft, because in my mind, Marvin Harrison, Malik Nabers, Rome, and probably Brian Thomas, to me, are the first 4 in any order that will go in the first round. And the next possible guy that I have, who people have completely fallen off of, I feel like, and they're hyping up Troy Franklin, they're hyping up Xavier Worthy for good reason. This is a loaded class. But I actually think the next guy after those 4 that I mentioned that will get drafted in the first round potentially will be Keon Coleman, who will be my pick here at pick number 12.
I knew that was coming. Keegan loves Keon Coleman.
He does.
I knew that was coming. I had Keon Coleman I think at 12 or 13.
He's going to be 21 when the season starts. Let's just get that out of the way. He's only going to be 21 when the season starts. He's been obviously dropped down in people's rankings, whether it be for production or they don't like some of the advanced metrics. But here's what I know about Keon Coleman. Elite frame for wide receiver. And I love Danny Kelly. For anybody who listens to The Ringer, he has a great mock draft, big board with all kinds of details. And the way he describes his hands are perfect. He calls them arrogant hands. And I truly believe that. Like, watching Keon Coleman is just a marvel because he's going up and making contested catches. He's high pointing balls. He's making ridiculous circus catches, but it doesn't look like he's going out of his way to do that. Like, when I say arrogant hands, like, he believes that he can make all of those catches at any times. Like, there are some things in his game that can be improved upon, but you can't teach frame, you can't teach size, and you really can't teach hands. You can practice hands, but you just can't teach hands the way that Keon Coleman has them. And I think he can be such a difference maker for an NFL team with all of that combined. And he can get better at the technical route stuff. You can expand his route tree through practice. Like, think of early DK Metcalf on in his career, and he can expand his route tree and get better with coaching and environment. But I think Keon Coleman just has such an innate ability to play wide receiver that a lot of people just don't possess at his size. So for me, Keon Coleman would be my perfect way to end this first round of the draft. He's definitely like a personal draft crush of mine. But the other thing with him is I watched him win games with singular plays or put Florida State in positions to win games. That's a very rare thing to see out of wide receivers. And sure, he didn't have 1,500 yards or 1,400 yards, but he is winning them games on Saturday with key plays. And that out of a wide receiver is something you just can't replace.
Dude, what's crazy with Coleman is I'm playing around in the box score simulator with RotoViz, and you plug in height, weight, college production, etc. His biggest 4 comps based off his size and projected 40 time are Laquan Treadwell and Jalen Reagor and Nico Collins and Justin Jefferson. So that
we like the last 2.
That's a boomer bust candidate if I've ever seen one. And I think Coleman's worth the risk at the end of a dynasty rookie draft. I think he's really divisive though. So many people are so out on Coleman, but all the nerds with the spreadsheets, it's not a great spreadsheet guy. He doesn't really come off as someone who dominated his college offense or put up crazy efficiency numbers. But then the tape watchers like him. The tape watchers like him a lot. I think
the Florida State tape is really good to watch. If you just want to see a guy who knows how to play ball, and the Michigan State tape is a little bit difficult. I mean, he transferred out of Michigan State for a reason. Jayden Reed left Michigan to go into the NFL draft when he probably could have played another year and improved draft stock. They had terrible quarterback play. Go back and watch the Michigan State tape of those two and tell me that they struggled because they weren't good wide receivers. Like there was a lot of bad from the quarterback play. So take it with a grain of salt when you watch him back, but just go watch some of the plays he makes. He's special. He does things that a lot of wide receivers just can't do. So I'll take the guy who is a freak athlete in my last pick of the first round and has arrogant hands. I love that. He believes he can catch anything, and honestly, he can catch most things.
Dream spot for Keon Coleman.
Dream spot? It depends on where he gets drafted. I think some teams that he would be good fit for, like the Saints, would be a good fit. If the Bengals were to part ways with T. Higgins and they open up a spot on their wide receiver, I'd love to see him with the Bengals. Like, give somebody with like maybe an elite wide receiver, kind of like even Dallas, like give somebody else a big body wide receiver that can gain you first downs, that can get you possession, that can be a red zone target to pair with your wide receiver that you're targeting 10 times a game, like CD or Jamar Chase or Chris Olave. I want to see him on one of those teams. I don't want him to be in the Treylon Burks situation where he's stuck replacing somebody like AJ Brown, right? Like I want to see Keon Coleman complement an already elite wide receiver so he can kind of show off those hands and that big possession play that he possesses.
Miami needs a third wide receiver with size desperately. I think
Kansas City
sick. I think he'd be sick with Miami. Same with Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Thomas Jr. to start off his career as like an elite wide receiver 3. Give it to me. Give it to me all day, every day of the week. I know we didn't get to the Bo Nix landing spot. Aidan, what do you think is like the perfect Bo Nix landing spot?
I think Minnesota is pretty ideal for him. Kind of learn from Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins might not be ready for the start of the year also. So I think there's a chance that
he might be gone. He might go to the Falcons.
There's no guarantee. I think the Vikings and Bucks make a ton of sense. Kind of take over with an offense that's already in pretty good shape, just needs like a game managing QB, which is what Baker and Kirk both were. I see
those two, and then what do the Steelers do? They're probably looking to draft a quarterback as well too. I don't know if that's Bo Nix landing spot, but like
they're trading for him.
Nix and they're trading for him. Is
that they're gonna have
Fields.
They're gonna have Justin and Mitch in the same locker room. It's gonna make me cry.
with Artie Smith. Oh wow! This was
no
fun.
running backs.
We got to do a second round.
Backs.
Yeah, I really wanted to figure out a way to get Corum or Jonathan Brooks or.
I wanted to talk about Braylon, bro. The guy's not even 20 years old. Absolute freak.
We're gonna do a second round. We'll do a first and second round again in a couple of weeks as things start to change. We'll definitely get those running backs.
It'll be pretty heavy in the second round. I'd be willing to bet 5 or 6 running backs go in the second round.
Big fan of Bucky Irving.
Bucky, Corum, Jonathan Brooks.
He's a receiver, but Malachi Cortley, I think, will go at the end of the second. His stock is rising rapidly. This draft's loaded. Like, look at Ladd McConkey is going to be a top 40 pick, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. Well, there's no ladies listening, but he's going to be a top fucking 40 pick. All right?
Maybe. Just maybe.
He's going to be a top 40 pick. So, and he's down here all the way in like the third round. So, it is what it is. I'm calling my shot on Ladd. There it is. You heard it. But that's going to be it for our first round mock. Drop in the comments what you guys think.
Man, let me know in the comments how much better my team is than theirs.
I mean, I just have receivers. I think I'm just Worthy, Harrison,
Drake Maye,
Thomas, and Drake Maye. Oh my god. Imagine that. I've got a quarterback and those 3 wideouts. Good luck. Good luck with that, Chiefs.
What do you mean? I'm walking out of here with Caleb Williams, Brock Bowers, Odunze, and Keon Coleman. Sign me up any day of the week. This is a good draft, by the way, for anybody still listening. Thank you. If you are listening and you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Leave a comment. Tell us how we did. But this is a great year to trade for draft picks. Move off some aging running backs, or if you got an extra quarterback to spare, like get in this first round. There are difference makers, picks 1 through 12 in this draft.
The second round's fire. I have 2 second rounds in another dynasty draft, and I'm just going to take 2 running backs with upside. Just say one of these guys is going to hit. Be like an RB2 for me. So I'm juiced.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about the second round. I agree with you, Shaun.
Well, let us know who's got the best team. Let us know what you think about Jayden Daniels over Drake Maye. I'm curious to know that. Let us know about Bo Nix over JJ McCarthy. I think a lot's going to change over the next couple months. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Until next time. It's going to